Hey guys, going to do a video today on explaining your folio task. This will be helpful for those who weren't here when I explained it in detail on Monday. I'm basically going to go through exactly the sort of same stuff that I went through then. All right, so this will also be helpful for those people that were here on Monday and maybe sort of aren't 100% sure about exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Okay, so first thing I want to let you guys know, these dates here are obviously pretty fluid. Okay, so Thursday the 30th of March is what, 5 days away. I don't actually expect a draft for this until Friday of week 10, which is a week and a bit's time. Okay, the final submission of this will be the last day of term, so Friday of week 11, which I think is Good Friday. But I'll set that there and I'll get you guys to upload them via the assessments tab on Daymap. Okay, so the idea about this folio is for you guys to create your own business. Some people have started already. They've done things like a cake stall, or they've made some form of clothing, chairs, tables, furniture, that sort of stuff. Okay, there's a few sort of different examples here that you can do. The idea being that you guys actually figure out, a selling price, your variable price, so your cost per item to make it, and then figure out your break-even point from there. The important thing to remember, or one of the important things to remember, maximum of 8 single-sided A4 pages. That doesn't include your cover page, so it's 8 single-sided A4 pages of writing in your calculations and your analysis. All right. You should definitely be doing some sort of introduction, which needs to have some sort of prediction about what you think the break-even point might be. There's a point on that down here, but it's important that you actually put that into your introduction as well. You also need to do a bit of background on the things you'll need, the things you've actually investigated. I recommend definitely doing screenshots of prices of things you'll need to buy to make whatever you're actually going to be selling. And then we get into the, your calculations, I guess. So once you've figured out what you're making, how much it's going to cost you to make, then you need to sort of figure out how many of them you actually need to sell. Part of that is actually figuring out your fixed costs as well. I think that is up here. No, it's down here. In number 4. So your fixed costs are things like any sort of hire fees for, if you're doing a car boot sale, I think you need to pay $50 to get your car in there to actually sell your stuff, so that it's a fixed cost. Any sort of electricity, gas, petrol, if you're doing deliveries or something like that. Anything that is fixed, a fixed cost. So equipment you might need to buy. Equipment's always a big one as well. There's some examples through here as well, but they need to be added on. Once you've got that, then you can actually do your break-even point. So we've got our selling price, we've got our variable cost, so how much it's going to cost you to make one. Using the stuff we've been doing, and if you haven't watched my video on how to calculate the break-even point on the graphics calculator, go back and do that. It'll be in the Teams, and it's also on Daymap in our class feed. Then you can figure out your break-even point. All right, that's not the end of the assignment, but it's a big part of it. Once you've got your break-even point, then we need you guys to actually discuss and do some analysis on how reasonable that might actually be. So, for example, you might not actually be able to sell 20 T-shirts every Sunday to break even. All right, or you might not be able to sell 30 pieces of cake every Sunday or every Saturday to break even. Okay. The analysis is really, and I stressed this to the class when I went through this, the analysis is the part that will actually take your folio from a C to a B and a B to an A. If you've got some really in-depth analysis and you're making really good points about the reasonableness of your responses, that's what I'm after. All right, that's what we need to be looking at. Feel free to email me any questions about any of this as well, guys. Okay. Once we get down here, and this can be a little bit confusing. But you need to, so we're considering our variable costs. So I want you to make a prediction about how many of your product you would need to sell in order to make a product in each of the following categories. So if you are going to make between $100 and a $500 profit, how many do you think you might need to sell? I don't want you to calculate it just yet, but I want you to make a prediction for each one of these three. All right. And then what you need to do is actually use in question 8 is actually do the calculations for how many of your product you need to sell to make that sort of profit. All right. And then comment on how close your predictions were. Okay, so I might say that I need to sell, I don't know, 30 of my hats that I've made to sell at the car boot sale, and I guess that they're going to make me $350 profit. All right. When we get down to question 8, we'll actually say, all right, how much profit do I actually make when I sell 35 of those, and comment on how close we were in our predictions. This question 9 is to do with profit and loss. So if say the cost of our variable costs, so our ingredients or our materials went up, how might that affect our break-even point? If the cost of our fixed costs actually went down, then how would that actually affect our break-even point as well? Okay, so really it is all around the break-even point and how the various factors affect that break-even point. Can't stress enough the importance for this bit here, question 6. So it is only one question, but these dot points need to be really, really in depth. I stressed that to the class on Monday. It's only one question, but it makes up roughly sort of 60% of your grade for this assignment is how well you can write, how well you can analyze, how well you can explain, and comment on the reasonableness and the limitations of this particular assignment. Okay. Please feel free to ask me any questions, email me, anything like that. I'm more than happy to help you guys out. All right. Thanks very much.